This podcast is brought to you by Podcast Nation.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Hi, Nirvana Sisters family. It's Amy. This week, we are featuring a special replay. We're going back to episode 36 with Alli Webb. She got married this week, so we thought it was relevant to replay her episode, especially since we have so many new listeners. Thank you for joining our family and enjoy this episode with Alli Webb. Thought this could be some good listening going into the Memorial Day weekend. Cheers. Welcome to Nirvana Sisters podcast, where we take the intimidation out of well-being and beauty to help you achieve your highest state, your nirvana. We are sisters-in-law and your hosts. I'm Amy Sherman.
And I'm Katie Chandler. So let's get into some real conversation.
Welcome to the show, Nirvana Sisters family. So today is a really, really special episode for both of us. But today we're talking to someone who has been so inspirational to me and really a role model to me, whether she knows it or not. But anyone who knows me well knows that I've always looked up to you, Alli, and just from a business sense, from a personal sense, your honesty and transparency. And also you have 2 boys, we're the same age. Like we just have a lot of similarities. And so I'm so excited to have you on the show and just thank you for spending time with us today. We have Alli Webb on the show, who I'm sure most of you know, but if you don't, she is the co-founder of Drybar, the founder of Drybar. She's also now the co-founder of Squeeze, which I'm so excited about because we have one opening up in Bethesda near me. Yes. We interviewed Britt on the show a couple months ago, and she was amazing. We loved her. Okay Humans, the future of face-to-face talk therapy, and Beckett Quill. And we also interviewed Meredith Quill a couple of weeks ago, and we're always decked in Meredith Quill because we love it. So we have our necklaces, Quill. We got our earrings, we're all judged, and we're so excited to talk to you. But I think the reason why I have been so inspired by you over all of these years, and like I've spoken Katie's ear off about you and your background and all of this stuff, is because I think when Drybar launched, it was like, I think right before I moved out of New York. And it was the first time it opened my eyes up to like, oh my God, like if I thought of this idea, I could have opened this. Like, this is actually something, because I always was into hair because I have curly hair in my whole life. It's like, you know, doing a million things to try to make it look better. Like there was this salon Davishon in New York. I don't know if you remember it back in the day that like cut curly hair, and they had a whole system. And I was like one of the first people there, and I was always talking to the people there. So I was like really into hair and beauty and all this stuff. Yeah. I work in marketing, but that's a different story. But anyway, I just thought the concept was so simple and groundbreaking to me. And the branding and the experience and the whole vibe of it, and the bigger meaning, of course, behind it, which is you walk out, you feel confident, you feel happy. And the whole thing, that whole experience does that for you. And so like, it sort of opened my eyes to like, wow, like I could open something one day for myself. I've been in corporate America forever, and it could actually be in business, and it could be something that I'm passionate about and love. Because I think prior to that, you think of opening up a business as like, I don't know, like an accountant or a lawyer, like nothing that you actually would be interested in. So anyway, it's always opened my eyes. And since then I've followed you and seen your career and all of your ups and downs, and just, I've always been so inspired. And like, you're the one person that everybody knows I like just have a total girl crush on, because you mean a lot to me. And so thank you again. So
thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah,
well, I appreciate that. And it's nice. It's nice to hear. It's always great to hear that kind of stuff. But mostly like the fact that, you know, my story, my journey has resonated with you and inspired you to, you know, get the confidence to go out and do your own thing, which is really, I'd say where I am now in my life. You know, I'm starting to write my second book. I just got a book deal, which was like such a big deal.
Congratulations.
Exciting to me. Thank you. And I'm excited to really, you know, write about that. And like this kind of like, if I did it, you can do it story. Because I'm, you know, I'm not your typical I mean, I don't think there is a typical anymore. And I think it's evolved so much. I feel like, when we first started Drybar and, entrepreneurs weren't as accessible as they are now, especially like female entrepreneurs. And just to your point about, companies were like big conglomerates and nobody knew who ran them, and no, you couldn't reach anybody there. You were never talking to the CEO, like nothing like that ever happened. And, I happened to come in at somewhat of the forefront of like entrepreneurs, being accessible and available. And, I've taken it to pretty extreme with, being pretty open and transparent with things that are going on in my life. And, that's been an interesting evolution. And I often like kind of ponder why am talk about so much of that stuff, but hearing what you said and things like that. And the feedback that I do get so much is like, it is this like, you're talking about it. It's relatable to me, whether it's like building a business or how you raise money or going through a divorce or whatever it is. I feel really compelled and drawn and to this, like, share what you know and pay it forward and all of that. So it's really nice to hear. So thank you.
Of course. Before we get into it, though, I do want to take a step back because in our show in the beginning, we always like to do a Nirvana of the week or day or whatever it may be, just a little something that sparked joy, that made you feel good, that you kind of like, that put a smile on your face this week. So Katie, I'll flip it to you first to give us your Nirvana.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. Well, Alli, first of all, I'm so thrilled that you're here. So thank you. My Nirvana, it happened yesterday. It was this weird little moment. I was speaking to this woman that I'm thinking about doing some personal work with, and she is a type of coach. And I had to have like full disclosure about my health issues with her. She was the first adult that I've ever spoken to that grew up with a sick mother that had autoimmune issues and had challenges, and was a child and had to have a sick parent, which is what my daughters go through. And I got emotional talking about it because I've literally never spoken to someone that was that. And she said to me that she thinks that it made her very resilient and very strong and more empathetic. And like, she's this wildly successful, fabulous woman. And she accredits a lot of that adversity as a young child to helping her gain those qualities. So that was a little Nirvana for me because I never thought about it from that point. We always think we're screwing up our children all day, every day. So yeah.
Oh, we are.
So yeah. I love that. Yeah. I never thought about that.
It was nice to hear. So that's amazing. Yeah. So Amy, what about you? What was yours?
Well, I had two. So the first one was just, as Katie knows, I had time to myself on Saturday. And I know, Alli, I saw this on your Instagram stories recently about talking about time to yourself. And I treasure that so much. Like, I love being alone and just having time to myself just to regroup, because then you just come back and you feel refreshed. So I've been stuck in the house because of COVID, yada, yada. I haven't been anywhere. So I had to like run errands and return things, so I did some shopping. I returned some things, walked around, did a little schmying around some stores. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing to be I felt like I was on vacation. I'm like buying a sweater. I'm like texting Katie. I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing to have time to myself. So that was great. But really, more importantly, a really cute moment yesterday I had in the car with my son, who's 14, almost 15. I have two boys like you, Alli. One's 15 and one's almost 15 and one's 12, almost 13. And we were driving in the car. I was taking him to his girlfriend's house, and he was like, in a good mood. And so like when I catch him in a good mood, it's like amazing because he'll talk to me, and car time is always the best. So he was just talking to me the whole time in the car and like just telling me a million things and talking about when he's older, this and college, and just literally talked to me the entire time we were in the car, which is so nice. 'Cause usually he's like quiet or says one thing. So that was so sweet. And then the cutest thing was, I'm dropping him off at his girlfriend's house, and he looks at me before he leaves the car, and he goes, "Mom, do I look good?" And I was like,
"That's cute.
You look great. I love you." But he never does stuff like that. So you could tell he was just like excited to see her. And it was just like so heartwarming and sweet. And I just drove away with like the biggest smile on my face. So that was my happy moment of the week. What about you, Alli?
Those are such good moments. And I feel like I can share in both of those with you guys. I mean, Katie, going back to what you were saying about this woman that you met and how it built resiliency in her, it is interesting. And I was joking that we all mess up our children, but I think we do. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think it's like we're just like, we're doing the best we can as parents. Our parents did the best they can. Like, I can point to lots of things that my parents did that were like, I wish, quote unquote, they had done different. Not really, but in the moment, and I remember when I was going through, my divorce, and my financial advisor, ironically of all people at the time, was like, because I was so worried, like, that I was going to fuck up my kids because I was putting them through a divorce. And our divorce wasn't, it was really rough internally, but we kept it pretty like smooth on the outside for my boys. And I remember him saying to me, similar to what you just said, that it was his parents went through a divorce when he was young, and it was so character building, and it made him so strong. And now, I'm not advocating for divorce by any means, but I do think that there is we're so worried about putting our kids through anything hard because we want to shelter them. I mean, it's just our natural, like, motherly instinct to want to shelter our children and shelter them from bad and evil and harm and all of that stuff. But like, it doesn't really prepare them. And, I had a fair amount of sheltering, and I had, and I didn't have anything really crazy to happen to me, but I do think that there is like some resiliency and strength in that. So I don't know. I just really relate to what you're saying. And I bet your kids will end up being really strong as a result, and I think mine are too, as a result of like going through a divorce. And, they see me so much happier on the other side of it. So like, while we were in like the mud and trekking through to get to the other side, it seemed like, oh God, are we ever coming back from this? And we have, and it's really beautiful now. So anyways, but as far as Nirvana moments, I love that, by the way. And it's a good reminder to like talk about the things that, I have this like, I think I have it right here, this like 5-minute journal thing that I write in pretty regularly. And it asks you really awesome questions, which I like because it's like an interactive thing, and which I like. But this weekend, Adrian and I went to where we're going to get married.
Nice.
In May. And, we were doing a walkthrough, and our wedding planner was there, and it was like, everything really like is working out and going well. And it's like in a sea of like shit that's been going wrong for like what feels like for so long. It was just so nice. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, like, and I'm just such a like, everything's wrong. We have to fix everything. Like, where's the problem? It's just my nature. And so the fact that it was like, everything was pretty smooth. And we had, a moment where we were going to get married. And we had a moment where, my boys are going to actually walk me down the aisle, which is like how
sweet.
Yeah. And we were like, we were kind of walking through, and we were standing, we kind of stood where my boys will like pick me up and walk me down the aisle. And I got so emotional, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be such a fucking wreck during the wedding. But it was the first time like some real emotion about the wedding hit me, and which is just like a weird place to be because, this is my second wedding, and it's like, it is just feel a little weird to be having a wedding again. Even though it's, a natural progression. So anyways, that was like a moment that really hit me. That was really sweet.
That's great. I love that.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
Thanks
so sweet.
for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations on your wedding. We're so happy for you. I feel like, we watched the journey of everything going on. I feel like there were so many raw emotions, and like to see you come out with an amazing guy. And I actually heard the podcast episode when you met those, that matchmaking company. I remember the episode from Raising the Bar, and I'm just so happy you found such an amazing guy. He just seems so not intuitive, but
evolved,
introspective. Yeah, like introspective. It's very. My husband's like that too, and it's an incredible quality, and it really brings out so much more. So that's awesome. And when are you getting married again?
We're getting married in May.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like it felt like, we had like not a long engagement, longer than my first marriage, anyways, and or my first engagement, and it was felt like it was so far away, and I can't believe it's less than 5 months now, and it's like that we have so much going on that these next 5 months are going to fly by, and I'm so excited. And it's like it's a little it feels like a do-over in a lot of ways, and to really be planning this thing exactly how I want it, exactly how we want it, and not like, unfortunately my mom passed away about 6 years ago. So she's not in it, which is a bummer. But I mean, it's also like, we're paying for it. We're doing everything exactly how we want it. We're making it exactly what we want. It's not there's some
You
tradition.
have all the people there you want.
Yeah, it's just awesome. My first wedding was like all of my parents' friends, which was awesome.
Right.
They gave us a lot of money to start our lives. Definitely is a totally different vibe. And and I think also just based on like how the last couple of years have been, to be having everybody in one room together feels like, super special. So
Yeah, for sure.
So special. And it's nice that you got to see kind of a preview this weekend and got to like take it in for a second, because you're probably running a mile a minute. And so to have that reflection moment is so nice.
It's so nice.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to give you some quick fire questions, get into some stuff. So I guess I gave a little bit of your background, and I'll probably give some in a pre-record. So just speaking about your mentors, I mean, I think a lot of people look to you as their inspiration and like mentorship. Who were your mentors? I know you've talked about your brother a lot, but who kind of gave you guidance and still gives you guidance, and who are you getting inspiration from lately?
Yeah, I mean, it's really all over the place. I mean, I would say like first and foremost was largely my parents and my mom, as growing up as like, in a family where my parents had their own business. And, I mean, going back to what you're saying about our parents and the things they aren't doing that we think they should be, like, my parents worked. I came home from school and my parents were rarely there. And I used to always joke around that I wanted a cookies and milk mom, because like that's what my friends had, and I had this like, why aren't you that for me? And when I was little, it really bothered me. And as I got older, I learned, the older and older I got, the more I realized that like I watched my parents work really hard for what we had, which took a long time, and it I don't even think I was aware of it. It was building such a strong work ethic in me, and I really realized it once I went out into the world, and I went out into the world, and I was like, getting my first jobs, and I was treating every job like it was my own. And I was, and I was like, where did this come from? And I realized it was really from as I got older and I understood it more, it was like from watching my parents and how hard they worked. And they just always instilled that in us. And I worked for my parents when I was young too. And so, my parents always had such a great work ethic, and they worked really hard, but they also had this like, kind of work hard, play hard mentality, where like my parents were always like, if you do what you're supposed to do and your responsibilities, then you can leave when you want, or have a little more freedom. Just do your job and do it's supposed to be done. And that work ethic always stuck with me, versus like when you could be sitting at a desk from here to here. It was like there was a flow of like, you can kind of, as long as you're doing what you needs to be done, and that attitude, I think, instills a stronger work ethic of wanting to do something versus having to do something, So I would say, for me, it really started there. And certainly my brother along the way, has been a strong inspiration for me and mentor for me. And then I think it's like varied over the years, from like people like Jenna Gerwich, who is the founder of Laura Mercier Cosmetics, and she, introduced me to some really great people and taught me some really great lessons about building a product line early on. And, like, I don't know if you know who Wendy Zomner is, but she's the founder of Urban Decay Cosmetics. And we had the same,
yeah, I know that name. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had the same financial guys, the same private equity guys. And so, she was like helpful in like bridging a gap when we were raising money, and I was learning how to like deal with private equity guys. And, I feel like just like friends and relationships and, mentors, like they come into your lives in the time where like you need them. And it's like, just like anybody else, it's like, sometimes you just need somebody to help you with this thing that you're going through. And then you don't anymore, and I think that's like kind of the nature of mentors and people who are inspiring to you. And, and then there's been people like, like Whitney Wolf, who's the, founder of Bumble, who's become, a friend of mine who I don't really talk to all that much anymore, but I did when I was going through my divorce. She was really there for me, like unexpectedly, and really helped me. And like Maria Shriver is someone I've always looked up to. And I'm not like I listen to a lot of books on like audiobooks now, but I can't sit and read. I don't have the patience. I get tired.
Same.
But I can listen and walk, and I'm very happy. I love
totally. Yeah.
That way. But I happened to read a lot of Maria Shriver's books when I was a kid. I was just really inspired by her, and it was very serendipitous for me as I got older and she interviewed me in the early days of Drybar, and Catherine, her daughter, like stumbled across Drybar and loved it and told Maria about it. And then Maria called me. It was just like this like love fest, and we became friends, and, and kind of intermittently. And then once when I was also going through my divorce, and, I didn't have my mom, and she just really was like very like, she's very tough love. If you know her, she's like no bullshit, like right to it. And I kind of needed that, I mean, I remember being on the phone with her one morning and she was like, basically like, get the fuck out of bed. What are you doing? And so, she was helpful for me in that way. And, so I don't know, I could probably go on and on about I've been really fortunate and lucky to have some really amazing women around me in my life that have, inspired me and helped me and guided me through different, phases. And, I think all of I would say it's safe to say almost all of my friends are founders, entrepreneurs, or, running big companies or at the helm of big companies. And, we all lean on each other from time to time. So I feel like I have a pretty big network of women that I can call on when I'm like, need help with something, confused about something, need to bounce something off. So
yeah,
they come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
That's so true. And it's really, the thing about your parents, actually, I was listening to it because I have always worked as well. And like took off maternity leave, but like have always worked. And I always struggle with that guilt of like, should I have stayed home when my kids were younger? And like, I was never the milk and cookies mom. And I've always had a corporate job, and now I'm starting this, and now I'm like straddling both worlds and really busy. But the pandemic has actually been like such a blessing in disguise because I've been home, which made me realize like, oh, I can start my own thing and still work and be with them so much more. But to your point, I'm also teaching them a work ethic, and they've been to my office and they like see all this stuff and see all these amazing trips I go on. And so it does give them that lens of like, you work hard and you do these things, and so
and as the milk and cookies stay-at-home mom that doesn't actually make the cookies and put out the milk.
Oh, please, Katie, she's an incredible mom.
No, but I can tell you, what I always stress about is, oh my gosh, my children aren't seeing me work. I need to show them this great work ethic and all of that stuff. So it's just funny. But I love what you're saying about your parents, the work hard, play hard thing, because our household is all about that. And I never correlated it so much to the passion for working and getting it done so that you can feel like, all right, I can do whatever I want. I've got the world is my oyster. Like you said, wanting to do it instead of having to do it is key. It's such a great lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. So important. And I learned that through parenting too, right? It's like my kids are, a lot like me. I think we're all like this. It's like if someone's like forcing you to do it, you're like, fuck that, I don't want to do it. But if someone like allows you to find it, it works. It's like so true of all the things, right? It's like you can't be forced. It's like you can't. What's the old adage? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's like you can only do so much, and and you get resistance. So yeah, it was a good like early life lesson for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Now you're all right. So Drybar, Squeeze, Beckett and Quill, and they've all been like back to back to back to back to back. What have been some of your biggest challenges and like learning curves going through, this journey? I mean, it's a lot, starting one after the other. Certainly there's got to be a couple of things that have stood out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of different for all of them. I mean, with Drybar, it was like, it was going from, and I'll make this brief because it's like 10 years worth of this, but like going from it being like my baby, my business, me and my brother, and like slowly bringing on more and more people to it becoming this like massive brand and needing so much help and not being the one making every decision, not being at the helm of the company anymore. And that transition was really hard for me, and it, as I look back on it, it was definitely like a process, that I don't think I could see at the time of like letting go and learning that like I needed really smart people around me who knew lots of things that I didn't. And now it's like a very crystal clear lesson. But at the time it was like, I was a maniac about it, and I had a hard time accepting, letting other people do what they were really good at, stuff that I didn't know, so it was like an interesting evolution, both a personal and professional evolution to like navigate learning how to be the boss and having to be the person that you feel like has to know everything and make every decision, to being like, wait a second, I don't have to know everything and I don't have to make every decision. I can I can utilize all these people around me and let them, feel empowered and whatever. But then there's like ego and you're like, no, I have to know everything. And no, this is my idea and I have all the answers and I'm the smartest person in the room, which was never the fucking case. But you're under this, like, what am I supposed to be doing? What do people expect of me? There's, for me, there was no there was no guidebook on this. You just kind of made it up as you went, which, it feels very liberating now. But at the time it was very stressful. So, I think it was like it was a process, and I learned so much as a result. And, and then I think what was an interesting transition for me was going from like being in the day-to-day to not being in the day-to-day to like finding my new role within the company as we grew it and brought on a professional CEO and all these people in the company had expanded so much, to then like, figuring out where my place was. And then, because Cam, my ex-husband, was the creative mastermind, and we had a creative office separate than we had our main office in Orange County in Irvine. And then we had our creative office in LA. And then once we split, and that was the office I worked out of, now I'm like, shit, where do I go? What do I do? I'm already not quite as involved as I was, but not completely out. So that was a really hard time for me. And also it was, but it was a really great time. It was such a reinvention, where I was going through the divorce and like rediscovering myself. And, while it seems back to back, I really did have some time. We were starting to build Squeeze, which Brittany, who you now know, who, for people listening, ran our marketing at Drybar. She, Michael actually approached me about doing Squeeze when we were still in the thick of it at Drybar. And I was like, I don't have it in me to do that, because I was so burnt out by that point and life was so crazy. But Brittany wanted to do it, which we were so grateful for. And she's done, a phenomenal job. So I was really grateful. I was able to like coast there for a little while we were like between and the divorce, and then Squeeze was happening. And, I did have like a year there where I think I led on to it a little bit, but where I was really just like sucking air and just trying to stay above water while I was like dealing with my personal stuff, which then, on the flip side made me a softer person, like probably a better person, a stronger person, and all of the things that I, became. And then that's kind of when, that was kind of somewhere in the middle of the pandemic and things were crazy with Squeeze. And now we're like up and running and we're opening more. And, about a year ago is when I discovered Meredith and we became friends. And I thought, that there's really something here. And that's been a really fun, like, labor of love kind of project. So they've all happened in this really interesting way. But it's been a lot of like self-discovery and a lot of like, I hate using the term like lonely at the top, but there is some truth to this. Like I built this business and we had a lot of success and like, and then in like what felt like one fell swoop, my life kind of completely unraveled. And like, what am I doing now? And I've had to like figure all that out. And, but I'm grateful for it, and I feel like I've kind of landed on my feet, and I still kind of feel a little like all over the place. Like, what am I doing? And my schedule and my life is such a mixed bag. It's not one, I don't do the same thing every day ever, so I'm, and I'm exploring lots of different projects and investments and all sorts of different things now. So I'm finally at the point where I really like what I'm doing. It just doesn't look like anything like it's ever looked before. So I don't know, I guess it's kind of just rolling with it. And
yeah, you're evolving every day. And it's actually, I was listening to you and I was thinking, people that our listeners are entrepreneurs, founders, but also people that work, in corporations and big companies. And a lot of the things you said resonated because I'm like kind of on both sides, right? I've had a corporate marketing role for so long. And the things, and I've always been very entrepreneurial in the corporate world. And because I've always like come in and had to build something, like build the social media strategy, build the content strategy, because none of that ever existed. So I definitely, there's so many parallels in you're moving your way and you're navigating. And then you're like, should I be doing that? Should I not be doing that? I don't have as much control as I used to have. Wait, I used to work on that brand and they're not doing it the way that I would do it. And there's a lot of comparisons, even though, you're in a big company, like
Sure.
as you grow and evolve and lead, you just learn more and more about yourself, what you should be doing, when you shouldn't be doing. And like, I'm still learning it myself. And I know you're starting the Impact series, and we're excited to hear about that, because I know that's in a couple weeks. And I think it sounds like such an amazing experience for people who are starting up. If you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny. I don't know if I'm just crazy, but I feel like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's true. I am doing that.
I'm doing that in a couple weeks in Nashville
too.
You're doing too much when you forget about half the things you're doing. And I was literally just sending emails about that before this call. Anyhow, yes. So the Impact series was really born out of this, like, a couple of different things. Like my desire to give back, pay it forward, all that stuff is really important to me. And over the years, I mean, that's kind of how, Raising the Bar started, because Michael and I were getting, hit up all the time from people who wanting advice about starting a business and running and growing and scaling a business. And the podcast was kind of our answer back then to like get a lot of that information out there. And, since we stopped doing that, and I continue to get, inquiries from entrepreneurs all the time, or like, hey, can we go have coffee? Can we sit down and talk about my business? And I'm like, well, I'm like, my bandwidth is pretty small. Like, that's not realistic or scalable. So how do I give back? And I've tried, a lot of different ways. And when Adrian and I met, and he's a coach of like founders and entrepreneurs and CEOs. And that's like what he does. Like he coaches people like me, so him and I, like, I could have definitely used him like 5 or 6 years ago when I was in the throes of it. And I've learned so much from him. And there's so many things that I would think about differently now than I did then, had I had someone like that. And ironically, my brother and I used to talk about me getting a coach all the time, which I thought was like the most ridiculous thing. Now I'm like, oh, it's really, I mean, at least a coach like
I need a coach for work. I've been told. I need an executive coach, so I might be calling Adrian.
It's really interesting. And I really don't think I understood like what a coach does. And I think there's a lot of people like coaching out there, but he's like, and I always kind of joke around that I'm like, you just kind of tell people like what they should be doing, what to do. And he was like, no, I help them see the things that they are missing, and I help them discover things about themselves. And I'm like, oh, and he's certainly done that for me in a large way on a lot of different things. And anyway, so, his experience with coaching founders, people like me, entrepreneurs, like people that are maniacs and all over the place and crazy, who are mostly entrepreneurs, putting to bring that together, from his experience and my real world experience, and to kind of combine those, that chocolate and peanut butter combination seems so great. And so we were like, and we love working together and being together and traveling together. So we're like, how do we combine these two things? And that's kind of how the Impact series was born, of like, let's keep it really small. We only allow up to 20 people in the room. And it's like very much a deep dive into whatever's going on. We've done a couple of them now, like what's going on in your business, what's working, what's not working, what are your biggest challenges, what are you struggling with, and what's funny is a lot of the people who tend to come for like one reason, and they end up like dealing with another that they may not have been willing to talk about. And Adrian's just so direct and honest, and has this way of like drawing things out of people. So, and then I have the experience of like, there's only so many things we go through as entrepreneurs, like, staff and scale and raising money, and like there's like a handful of things that we all kind of deal with. And so I have, I can speak to a lot of that. So, and this particular Impact series, which we're doing for all of them, we're bringing in like other successful entrepreneurs. And Jessica Zweig, who has a book, Simply Be, I don't know if you guys know her, but she's has a marketing, like a personal branding marketing agency. And she actually is I've hired her to do stuff for me, and it's been so great. And we've become really good friends. So she's kind of co-headlining this with us. This next one, we're doing it in Nashville in February 4th. And it's super fun to be in a room. It's very vulnerable. It's very honest. If the people are willing to be that way, and usually they are. It's a pretty sizable investment. So it's like, it takes, you really need to want to do the work when you're there, and it's very immersive, and it's super fun. I love it. I feel very connected to the people.
It's really amazing your drive and your desire to give back and to like pay it forward. All of these years of grit and hard work that you put in, learning as you went along, and you just want to teach it to people. I mean, I think that it's It's just so admirable. And I mean, obviously that's one of the biggest reasons why, you're one of our role models. It's just really, really cool. Amy and I, we are just, one day we woke up and like, we want to do something. What is it? Okay, let's do a podcast. All right. So we make this podcast and it's fun. And we're talking to all these really great people.
Let me interrupt. It wasn't let's do a podcast. Okay. I was talking to my husband and I'm like, Katie and I always have these really great conversations about well-being and taking care of herself. And she's got an autoimmune and I get vestibular migraines and she's always researching. And people always ask us like, oh, what should I do for this? And what should I do for this? And like, how do we just talk about it? Like we're talking on the phone and people are listening in. So we're like, okay, the podcast is the first way to do that, but that's just the start. And the only reason I'm cutting you off to saying that, Katie, is because there is something special about Katie and I's conversations, I think. And what we've been told is that, similar to you, like we have a very real, authentic way. We're not like editors talking about well-being and beauty and all this stuff. Like it's more, we want to make it more approachable and not that intimidating sort of like, your business have been, right? Like it's like the accessible luxury. So we're like the attainable, real, like we really get into it. We ask all these like silly questions. We'll have a doctor on the show be like, wait, what does this mean when you get, so my point is I was just saying, Katie, before we got on is like, my husband was saying like, you guys go deeper than like the typical well-being and like, you guys don't sell yourself short. And that's why I'm cutting you off, Katie, to just say like, it's not just that, like Katie she's a really incredible researcher and she just knows so much about health and well-being that I was like, you need to be telling people and I need to be telling people my side. So anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
But yeah, the whole point is that we have like this young entrepreneurial spirit in us and to be able to look to people like yourself to learn the ropes. It's invaluable. I mean, it really is because here we are, we're like spinning our wheels all the time. What do we do next? How do we get to the next big, like what, what
we
is
have like
it?
10,000 ideas and how do we put it together?
Yeah.
And
anyway, I digress.
Yeah. And the girlfriends in business, we love too, because Katie and I send back episodes to each other because I'm like, listen to this. This is so helpful. Like the one the other day, I forgot it was Lori talking to, I can't remember her name, but she was talking about like the different pillars of like what kind of business you are, the 3 R's. And that was so helpful. I was like, oh, that like really helps us understand like where we fit in the mix. Yeah. So anyway, how's the podcast going and all of that? Is that?
It's good. I mean, it is, I'm definitely, challenged in time. Like
you guys do a lot. It's like 3 episodes a week.
I don't do all of that. I only do a couple of them now. I've had to I've had to like pull back a little bit from it because I just don't have the bandwidth between the book that I'm writing now, Impact Series, Beckett and Quill. I'm on not only like still Drybar board, Squeeze, OK Humans. I've joined a couple other boards. There's a company called Ideal Image, which is like the biggest medical spa in the country.
Wow.
I know that company. They actually recruited me. We can talk about that offline.
Oh, funny. And I joined the board of Onsite because Onsite, out of Nashville was a really helpful. And just, Miles, who's the CEO of Onsite, has become a near and dear friend of mine. And I love what they're doing. I mean, they're doing incredible work. And so, I'm just pulled in a lot of different directions. So the podcast was a little bit challenging. So I do a couple of episodes here a month with them. So it's going really well. I'm not doing quite as much as they are. But, I'm just trying to figure out, where to put my time, which like I said, I don't even.
Right. You got to prioritize. It's hard.
I have this whole other big project that I'm launching soon. It's just, I can't like sit still, I'm trying all these things. So I'm even getting into like the NFT world, which is really exciting.
Wow.
There's just like all this fun stuff. So, but I love it.
You mentioned your book. So you have a new book that you're currently working on?
Yes. What's so funny? I did another podcast right before you guys, and I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't think I can do 2 podcasts in one day because I don't remember what I said here and there.
Yeah.
Like, didn't I tell you guys that? I was like, nope, I said it in the last podcast. I did just get a book deal, which was like a very, very like big, exciting thing for me something that I've been working on for a long time. And I had been working with a ghostwriter and basically spent almost all of last year like outlining the book. It's about like 19 or 20 chapters, and it's very cathartic going back through your life. And the purpose of the book is to be, it is a memoir, but I really don't want it to be this like self-indulgent story about me. I want it to be, kind of what you guys have touched on, like, lessons learned, things that I've picked up. And again, in that theme of paying it forward, of like, here's, what I've learned, here's what's worked for me, here's what hasn't worked for me, take it or leave it, make it your own. Also like a bit of a resource of like, some of like the crazy shit I've been through with my son and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I actually have a call with my new book editor this week to start, mapping out the book, which I'm like,
that's so exciting.
Like excited and scared. The first book I wrote was like a very like hair centric. It was called The Drybar Guide to Good Hair for All. It was like breaking down, what I know about hair. And this is a much, much more personal endeavor that I'm excited about. And, I love obviously sharing and oversharing. So it'll be fun. But yeah, lots of projects.
Sounds like
lots of time management skills needed. Yeah.
When is this?
Yeah, seriously.
Any idea when the book will be out? Is there?
Probably early 2023.
Okay, great.
Is what it's looking like now, which does seem really far, but
not when you're writing a book.
Have you read the Jen Atkin book? I heard that was really good. I started it and I haven't finished it.
Read it, but I love Jen and I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, I've heard it's incredible.
I've heard really good things, and she's a gem of a person, and I'm sure, she's very smart, and so I'm sure it's great.
Yes, like you, I'm listening to it, but this is what I do. I listen to like 5 things at once. I'm sorry?
Did she read it herself?
I don't know. That one I started reading on my iPad at night when I couldn't sleep. And then I bought the audiobook, but I don't know if it's her because I've only listened to it a few times.
I love, obviously we both have a love of audiobooks. Like I love it when the author reads it, and I plan on
it's so much better.
Mine too, because there's emotion and, so I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, I think it is her now that I'm thinking about it.
I would imagine her, yeah.
I have like 10 books open right now. It's just like go from one to another.
All of those kinds of books. And then I have like just complete like, non like helpful books at all, just like guilty pleasure books. So those are
something to help shut the brain down, that very, very busy brain of yours.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, you know what else we should touch on really quickly, just because we did have Meredith on recently and it was right before the holidays and we saw her. How did Beckett and Quill do during the holiday season? Because she had some super exciting promotions and everything. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a great holiday season. We were, blown away really by, how, the last like 2 months of the year were our, hands down made our year. So that was really exciting. And
amazing.
We learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work and where to put our energy. And it set us up for, this year to be able to, go do a little bit more. So she had a lot of success when she was in New York with you guys in doing the trunk shows that she did.
That was so fun.
So
we had a great time.
I wish I could clone her because she's so, she does so well when she goes out and does those trunk shows.
She's so cute.
She's so cute.
Yeah,
so
she's so cute.
Yeah, no, we had a
Cindy
great
Crawford clone.
Yeah, I know.
When she was on, I was like, has anybody told you you look like Cindy Crawford? Because I can't she's or spitting in it. She's like, oh my God, Alli says that all the time. I'm like, you're exactly her.
Yeah, the mole and the thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
The picture, we posted a picture of her today because it's her birthday. And I think it's the picture. It's a picture of her that really, I feel like looks like Cindy Crawford. Yeah.
Nice. We'll just
so cute. What a compliment, right? Yeah.
Good. Well, congrats on a good holiday season. That's exciting. We love what you guys are doing with Beckett and Quill.
Thank you so much
up our alley.
You guys have been awesome.
Yeah, of course. So we have a couple like fun questions, a little wrap session, a product review. So what is your holy grail hair product? Because obviously you're the queen bee here. So we need to know, like, what is your favorite thing? Do you have a favorite 1 or 2 things that are your go-tos?
I mean, they fluctuate so much. It just kind of depends on like where I'm at in my hair journey. And I I don't really blow dry my hair all that much anymore. I mean, as you can see, my hair is a little bit dirty right now. I kind of like it. I really like undone hair. And I've always said
Me
that,
too.
even in the throes of Drybar. But I would say like the product that I've stuck with for a very, very long time is probably our 3-day bender, which is the curling iron, that has a spinning barrel. The 1 inch, like I've used it forever. It's such a great iron. You don't need to make it very hot, and it gives you all sorts of different curls. So I would say that's probably like a staple in my hair wardrobe. And then, I kind of go back and forth with different like serums. We make a great one that's a treatment. It's called the treatment oil, 100 proof. But I really use a lot of brands, a lot of different hair products from different brands that I love. Gosh, what am I using that I really love right now?
Can I tell you a funny hack?
Yes.
So the Drybar dry conditioner, which I love the smell, and I know smell is like, you're very sensitive to smell, and like I am too, and I love that smell. But I've been I have a puppy. We got a new puppy recently, and I spray it in her hair every once in a while just to like, I don't know, give it a little bit of life. Because sometimes, she's outside, whatever, and it makes her smell good. And like my mom came over the other day, she's like, "She smells so good." I'm like, "Oh, I put some dry conditioner."
That's a really good idea.
So funny.
My dog particularly smells.
That's so funny. And I would say like our dry shampoo is I use the brown dry shampoo a lot to cover up like my gray that comes in. And that's like one of my favorite go-tos.
Oh, I didn't even know they had that.
Nice.
You do?
Nice.
Detox. Yeah.
These are good ones. All right. Well, let's kick it to our wrap session, because we have taken up so much of your time. You've been so generous. So do you have a favorite wellness or beauty hack?
I would say my latest beauty hack is I recently discovered there's this company called Keepi. They're kind of like a revolutionary humidifier. So it's like not the humidifier.
Oh, I know that brand.
Yeah, it's really cool because they figured out this technology so like your humidifier doesn't get gross and moldy and gross and gooky. And there's some really amazing data on like how good it is for your skin and your scalp. So I use it. It's on constantly. We never shut it off. It never, you have to change the filter once every, I don't know, month or something, but it's really, really easy upkeep and I love it.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good one.
I literally don't use humidifiers because of that exact problem. Like after a while, they get gross.
So I know, but it's fascinating, and I've learned a lot about this company because it's a long story. But I was also like meh on humidifiers, and you use them kind of when you're sick and whatever, but they get so gnarly, and so you throw them away.
Yeah.
However, it's a like multi-billion-dollar industry. I'm like, how in the world? And these guys who started Keepi, who I've gotten to know, which is it's been kind of an interesting evolution. They're like, yeah, we just realized it was like these guys started it who realized like their girlfriends were like, saying that their skin was much better from having a humidifier, but there were so many issues with them. So they are kind of entering this beauty space. And I was like, I've been using it now for a little over a month. And I'm like, my skin looks and feels so much better. And there's so much technology and like the fact that, it doesn't put it like a big water molecule into the air, which would be really bad for our hair. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah. There's some really cool technology with it that I've geeked out on a little bit. So I
need to try that because same thing. I think Lauren Bostic did like a collab with them.
She did.
Yeah. Okay. That's how I know the brand. Okay, cool. We got to try that.
Yes.
Okay. Then the next one is called our 5-minute flow. So you just got out of the shower, your Uber pings you, they're downstairs, they're 5 minutes away. So what is your quick beauty routine? Like, what are your go-tos? What do you throw on? What do you put on your face to get like downstairs and in that Uber on time?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is like, I don't know if it's because of like my age, but like skin is really important to me. So I always put on I'm like very religious with Shani Darden products, and I'll put on like a toner first because I've learned that like if you put that on first, it helps the other stuff seep in more. I always use a serum. I start with Shani. I use a serum, and then I usually have if I have time, I'll put on like blush and lipstick. But I always have eyeliner and mascara on. It's like I do not feel like myself if I don't have that on. Everything else is like kind of like meh, but it's eyes for me and like a lot of shit on my face.
Feel you on that one.
No, that's funny. I refuse to leave the house without like liner. Yeah.
Yeah, I always have liner. I used to like line the inside of my eyes, and then I started realizing that like my eyes are very small and it looks much smaller. So now I just do the top, and I'm embracing it. I'm good with it.
Do you get lost in the TikTok world of like hair and beauty hacks? I'm like,
I really
can't stop. Oh my God, there's so many good ones.
I totally get it, and if I see something, I can get locked into it. But I'm honestly like. It's so embarrassing, but like, you know, you've probably seen me post about my cat, which I'm like such a dog person.
Yes, Cookie. But we talked about the AirTag the other day.
Yes. Oh, right. You guys, I just ordered the collar to her because I
good
AirTag on her because that was the most traumatic thing. Thinking I lost her, I was such a fucking wreck, and
yeah, it's so scary.
and like I end up I end up watching so many fucking kitten videos now that I'm like. What happened to me? Who am I? What's wrong with me? It's really funny. Now I see these like cat and dog videos like where the kitten like runs into the room and like jumps on the dog's face. I'm like, why doesn't Cookie do any of this stuff? You know? I'm in such an animal person, and like it's my dream to have like a farm one day and have tons of dogs and cats and chickens and all of that. But that's coming.
Well, maybe that's a good segue into how you maintain your daily Nirvana. Is it possibly the kitty videos?
I think it's a mix, you know. I mean, I you know, kind of like the post I posted this weekend of like I realize I need like alone time, and I definitely think I'm like an introverted extrovert. Like I can really turn it on and be on in front of camera and all that stuff. But then I really like my downtime. I really love my downtime, and I think that's kind of what keeps me like in flow, you know.
Yeah, totally
agreed.
Okay, well, typically on the show, we end with a quick product review, like what we're loving now, and a quick mantra. So we're going to do that quickly. So, and I think you'll like this, Alli, because it's kind of related, but not related to something we just talked about. So I don't know if you've heard of this brand called Vitruvi, these diffusers.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
They're air diffusers. But the reason why I like it is it's stone and it's really beautiful. So when you have it, so you can, I never was like a diffuser person, but I saw these and I'm like, oh, they're like pretty and they look nice in your office or your home. And I'm going to show you my phone. I don't know if you can see it right now, but there's all these amazing colors. I don't know if you can see this, but there's like white and pink and like a light, like if you go on their website, but they have eucalyptus color and gray and yellow, not a buttercup yellow, but like a mustard yellow, and they have a teal and like just all these beautiful colors.
Yellow?
No, nothing. I'm saying they have a mustard. Where's the yellow cup? Where's the buttercup yellow? But anyway, they have cream and anyway, they have all these beautiful colors for Vitruvi. They're just very like chic and luxe. So they look nice in your home. They look like a piece of like decor versus just like an ugly diffuser.
And one of the things I love about Canopy is they're like that too. It's like,
so it's so beautiful.
Body,
And then I got like 3 different scents. I love grapefruit. So I put grapefruit in there. And then I also have like this grapefruit eucalyptus kind of mix. And then one with lime and juniper and whatever and yummy smells. But anyway, I just started using it. And now that I have my smell back after COVID, I'm loving it. So it's just a really nice product. If you want a diffuser that like looks chic and nice and all types of colors, I think it's around $110. But it's a good one. So that's what I'm loving right now.
Love it.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will wrap with our mantra in honor of Martin Luther King Day. This is a Martin Luther King quote, and it's also very appropriate to your unbelievable entrepreneurship. So you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And I've
heard that one. I knew it was going to be a good one. That's a great one. I love it.
True.
Such a good one. Well, thank you so much. I just want to say thank you. I know you are so busy and we really appreciate the time you spent with us, and we know our audience will love it. And we'll have to meet one day in person next time we're in LA.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Feel better.
Thanks.
Right.
Thanks, Alli.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. Have a good one. You too. Thanks for listening to Nirvana Sisters. For more information on this episode, check out the show notes, please subscribe, and leave us a review. Also, find us on Instagram at Nirvana Sisters. If you loved what you just listened to or know someone that would, please share it and tag us. Tune in next week for a fresh new episode of Nirvana Sisters. We'll continue to watch out for all things wellness so you don't have to. Bye.